Today is Monday, April 27th, 2026, and welcome to Only the Truth channel, where we bring you truth, analysis, and deep international updates that matter to our global audience. My name is Jennifer, and I am broadcasting live from Only the Truth channel. In today's important broadcast, we will be discussing the recent diplomatic mission of Iran's Foreign Minister, Abbas Arakjis, and his strategic visits to Pakistan, Oman, and Russia. This powerful tour is not just about diplomacy. It reflects the growing strength of Eurasian solidarity, regional cooperation, and the shifting balance of global power. We will examine how Pakistan's role has moved from being a simple facilitator to becoming a trusted mediator between Iran and the United States, how Oman continues to play a key role in Gulf diplomacy and the Strait of Hormuz, and how Russia remains a major pillar in strengthening the Eurasian alliance. This discussion also reveals how global politics are changing, with nations focusing more on sovereignty, regional security, development, and independence from Western dominance. Stay with us as we break down these important developments and what they could mean for the future of international relations, peace negotiations, and the rise of a multipolar world. Before we begin, please subscribe to Only the Truth channel, like this video, leave your comments, and share this broadcast on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, and all social media platforms. Your support helps us connect people globally and spread truth without borders.
Good day, friends. In today's video, I'll talk about Iran's Foreign Minister Arakjis' visit to Pakistan, Oman, and Russia, and how this consolidates Eurasian solidarity. Let me start with Pakistan, the first stop of Arakji. Now here Arakji, he has met up with the political and military leadership of Pakistan. And this visit of Arakji to Pakistan is very different from his earlier visit that happened on 11th of April. In that visit, the role of Pakistan was limited to being a facilitator. What that means is, as a facilitator, that the two sides had to accept, which they did, Pakistan as the neutral country, and Pakistan was required to get them together at the negotiating table to talk to one another face to face, which is not the case this time. Because Arakji has made it clear that he will not be interacting with the American negotiating team, which reports say has started from Washington for Islamabad. Therefore, this time, Arakji and his team would have spent considerable time with the Pakistanis in explaining them their considerations, Iran's considerations for permanent peace, what is their minimum position, what is their maximum position for permanent peace, and the reasons also for that. And why they would have done it is because now Pakistan's role has enhanced from a facilitator to a mediator. Now, as a mediator, the added responsibility or the role of the Pakistanis is, while of course being accepted as the neutral country, the added responsibility is to tell the American team when it comes to Islamabad, the consequences of the Americans taking or not taking the deal with making a deal with Iran. So this is the added responsibility as a mediator. And of course, everything that the Iranians would have discussed with Pakistanis, the Pakistanis would have shared with China, and Iran is aware of that. Now, we know that Arakji is going to Russia, but then there is a report that yesterday, which is April 24th, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, he spoke with his Pakistani counterpart Ishaq, and the two sides, they discussed Persian Gulf. So the key point to make is this, that Russia, China, Iran, they all trust Pakistan. And as I have said, the Iranians would have discussed in details everything with Pakistanis. That means there is a huge level of trust. So all these reports which have been coming, that there is a trust deficit between the Pakistanis and the Iranians, they are not correct. And the reason why they would trust Pakistan is because they know Pakistan will look after its own national interest. And in the present multipolar world, the interest of Pakistan is in Eurasia. Pakistan knows very well that its rise has to happen in Eurasia. But Pakistan also has good relations with America, but they are more like an opportunity. And the Americans are aware of that. Now I want to talk about Arakji's next stop, which is to Oman. Plenty of things have already happened. For example, the Iranians have said that the Strait of Hormuz to be called Persian Gulf or Persian Lake, something that they share with Oman. Then we also know that in the present multipolar world, two great powers, China and Russia, publicly, they have accepted Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. And then there are reports that the Iranian parliament has passed the Hormuz Strait Management Plan that they share with Oman. So all these details Arakji would discuss with the Omani leadership once he is in Muscat. And the nitty-gritties would also be discussed by Arakji's team with them. Nitty-gritty means that how to manage what they call their internal waterways, the Iranian side and the Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz, how the ships will traverse from there, then how the joint patrolling, maritime patrols will be done by the two sides, and how the tolls will be taken, the toll tax. So all those details will be there. In any case, there is trust between Oman and Iran because Omanis have been in the past silent facilitators between Iran and America. Now I come to the third stop of Arakji's visit, which is to Russia. Arakji, of course, would be discussing in considerable length the things that they have already discussed with the Pakistani leadership, one-to-one with the Russian leadership also. But there's another thing that happens once he goes there. Arakji goes there at a time when West Asia is at the edge. His presence shows that Iran cares about Eurasian solidarity. It strengthens that. And there is a bit of a background. Let me explain this here. I have said in my earlier videos that when President Xi, he became the president in November 2012, his first foreign visit was to Moscow, where he went in March 2013, met up with President Putin, and the two leaders, they agreed on a common vision for the new world order where the focus is on development. Development through peace. The key thing is development. And after they had agreed on the vision, the same year in 2013, Xi Jinping announced the Belt and Road Initiative. And President Putin in 2015, he spoke about the Greater Eurasian Partnership, once again the focus being on development. Because in 2015, Putin saw Russia as a European nation. And in 2013, the bilateral trade between EU and Russia, it was 413 billion euro. So the focus of President Putin, as far as Greater Eurasian Partnership was concerned, it was on development, trade and connectivity, something that he was looking from Lisbon to Vladivostok. Much like the Belt and Road Initiative of President Xi Jinping. Then the Ukraine war happened in 2022 and over 30,000 sanctions they were put on Russia. And this is the time that President Putin decided that now the orientation of the Russian foreign policy has to change. It has now to be East and South. And along with that, he decided that the first focus has to be security. Development is important, but security is more important. And therefore, in 2024, President Putin announced the Eurasian Security Architecture and also appointed a special envoy to look after the Eurasian security in December 2025 itself, the same year, and he is Mr. Alexander Trofimov. He was announced by President Putin. So, why I'm giving all this background is because recently President Trump has invited President Putin for the G20 summit, which is to be held in Miami, Florida, in December 14th, starting December 14th. And the State Department of America, they have confirmed that on April 23rd, the invitation was sent to Kremlin, and Kremlin has acknowledged that they have received it. And now it is up to President Putin to decide whether he would like to go for this or not. On his part, President Trump has also said publicly that to oust Russia from G8 was a mistake. And it is very clear from his statement that President Trump, he wants to normalize ties with Russia. And we also know that President Trump will be traveling to China on May 14th. So the point that I'm making is this, that there is a very interesting and an important American strategist who's no more, called Brzezinski. In 1997, he wrote a book called The Grand Chessboard. And in the Grand Chessboard, his central argument was that, and this is the time that the 1997, when the world was unipolar. And his central theme was that if America has to remain the global hegemon, then it needs to control the Eurasian chessboard. Controlling the Eurasian chessboard was the central idea. And now we know the world has changed. The global geopolitics itself has shifted to Eurasia. And therefore, President Trump, what he's trying to do is, he is trying to stay relevant in the Eurasian chessboard. And this is the reason that he's looking for normal ties with Putin, and he's looking for normal ties with Xi Jinping. And as far as Iran is concerned, we do not know what exactly are his plans about this blockade that has been put. But what is very clear is, to anybody who understands what's going on, that America simply does not have military options. Because as far as America is concerned, they've exhausted their air options. They've done the air campaign. Then they've done the special forces operation. A ground full-fledged war is completely ruled out. I've explained also in my video why it is not possible. And then now what they are doing is using the Navy, and hence the naval blockade. The point is, on the other side, the Iranians have actually a lot of options. They have the options of the Houthis closing the Red Sea. Then the Houthis, they destroying the subsea cables. Then I have explained, as they have the option that they could destroy the American technology companies in the GCC nations, and that could all end up in the end of petrodollars. And then when the ceasefire is not there, then this entire naval armada of America, that can be its vulnerability to the accurate and long-range Iranian missiles and drones. And then even Diego Garcia, which is the biggest logistic base, is not secure. I've explained that in my videos. So the point I'm making is that for Americans, it is very important to stay relevant in Eurasia, good ties with Russia, good ties with China, and perhaps a permanent peace, if not a permanent peace, some sort of a peace with Iran. And Pakistan understands where its national interest lies. So this is the significance of Arakjis' visit to these three important countries, which are very important for the Eurasian solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you for watching today's broadcast. At Only the Truth channel, we believe your voice matters, and your opinion helps build stronger global conversations. As the world moves toward new alliances and shifting power structures, it is important for all of us to stay informed and engaged. Please continue to support this platform by subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing this video with your family and friends across WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, and all social media platforms. Now, we would like to hear from you. Do you believe Pakistan can successfully play the role of mediator between Iran and the United States in achieving permanent peace? Do you think the growing cooperation between Iran, Russia, China, and other Eurasian nations will change the future global balance of power? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We are ready to hear from you.